Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson on Sunday, June 5th, 2026. For those who don't know me, my name is Mel Fish, and I will be your worship associate this morning. First, some housekeeping. Please be sure your cell phones are turned off or muted. There are 2 gender-specific bathrooms in the front lobby, and in the AV alcove, there is accessible gender-inclusive restroom. There are more gender-inclusive bathrooms in the social hall across the patio. On Sunday mornings only, this sanctuary, the social hall, our parking lots, and the children's classrooms are considered public spaces. However, we have designated a number of other areas as private. Private offices are labeled with yellow signs, and entry to these is by invitation only, even for law officers, including ICE agents, unless they have a proper judicial warrant. If you need to take advantage of these private spaces, you are hereby invited. The value of faith calls us, the values of our faith call us to take this position in light of the policies of the current administrator. Especially on this 5th of July, let us be mindful of those desert people who came first to this place and whose land was stolen in successive acts of displacement and genocide. In the last 250 years and more, we honor the Yaqui, the Apache, and we remember the Hohokam and other indigenous peoples whose names we no longer know. On behalf of the congregation, I extend a warm welcome to any visitors, including those watching live stream. If you are willing, please raise your hand so we could welcome you. Anybody new? Whoever you are, whoever you are becoming, whoever you've been, you're welcomed here. Finally, as we do every week, we want to highlight one of UU's values, justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We we are committed to dismantling racism and all forms of systematic oppression. We support the use and inclusion, We support the use of inclusive democratic process to make decisions within our congregation, our associates, and society at large. In a minute, when I say go, grab your neighbor and haven't told this story yet. What does 4th of July mean to you?
Good morning, everyone. I'm the Reverend Jamelia Omar, and I'm honored to serve as the minister here. I hope these conversations will continue both here and beyond our walls as we examine what the 4th of July is. And I had the daunting task today of figuring out what to say on the day after U.S. Independence Day, during a month whose theme is democracy, and we are highlighting the UU value of justice. As many of us are feeling today, it is difficult to draw a strong link between the United States, democracy, and justice in these times. And yet, here we are. And it is a place we have been before and will likely be again. As we will hear today, the struggle over what independence and freedom mean to a nation founded on stolen land, built through the labor of enslaved people while denying the rights to a wide swath of its population, is complicated. And this is a discussion that began way back with the founding generation and their revolution from the British Empire. For example, Abigail Adams, who we're about to have on the screen, her portrait. She lived from 1744 to 1818 in Massachusetts, and we can claim her as a Unitarian. She was an active participant at First Parish Church in Quincy, Massachusetts, and currently holds a Churches of the Presidents tour. Can you imagine being in a church that was founded back in 1770s? Like, amazing. Tom can, because he's been there. Oh, really? We have people from here who go up there. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. We should go on a Churches of the Presidents tour. How amazing would that be? Okay, road trip. You might remember her husband, John Adams, first vice president and second president of the United States, leader in the American Revolution, diplomat, political theorist, all of that stuff, right? Abigail and John had an extensive correspondence over time, which surprisingly still survives, though she often wished, quote, "You would write me a letter even half as long as I write to you." During the war years, Abigail and John acted both as John's supporter and his conscience. She often called him to his higher self, even while acknowledging the horrors of the war that they had instigated. In March of 1776, she wrote to John, quote, "I long to hear that you have declared an independency. And, by the way, in the new code of laws, which I suppose it will be necessary for you to make, I desire you would remember the ladies and be more generous and favorable to them than your ancestors." She continues, "Do not put such unlimited power into the hands of the husbands. Remember, all men would be tyrants if they could. If particular care and attention are not paid to the ladies, we are determined to foment a rebellion and will hold ourselves not bound by any laws in which we have no voice or representation." Why not then put out of the power of the vicious and lawless to use it with cruelty and indignity with impunity? Men of sense in all ages abhor these customs which treat us only as the vassals of your sex, regard us then as being placed by providence under your protection, and in limitation by the Supreme Being, make use of that power only for our happiness, end quote. So friends, in the spirit of Abigail Adams and the matriarchs and patriarchs and matriarchs of our collective history, may we be as determined to foment a rebellion as they were. May we remember the fullness of our history so that we can draw hope and courage from it. May we worship together. So join me now in saying our chalice lighting as Matt lights our candle here. And if you've got a candle or a chalice at home, please light it with us. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to
Will you rise as you are able and join me in singing We Would Be One? It's 318 in the gray hymnal for those that have those, but the words will be on the screen if that is a better way to see them.
Born into slavery around 1818, Frederick Douglass escaped bondage in 1838, and he became a powerful social reformer, abolitionist, orator, writer, and statesman. He was, quote, the most important leader of the movement for African American civil rights after the 19th century, and also one of the first people to tie together women's suffrage and abolition. On July 5th, 1852, Frederick Douglass gave a keynote address at a meeting organized by the Rochester Ladies Anti-Slavery Sewing Society in New York, and it's frequently titled, "What to the Slave is the 4th of July?" Our inspiration for today's question. It reads in part, quote, "For the purpose of this celebration is the 4th of July. It is the birthday of your national independence and your political freedom. The celebration also marks the beginning of another year of your national life and reminds you that the Republic of America is now 76 years old. I am glad, fellow citizens, that your nation is so young. 76 years, though a good age for man, is but a mere speck in the life of a nation. Fellow citizens, I am not wanting in respect for the fathers of this republic. The signers of the Declaration of Independence were brave men. They were great men, too, great enough to give fame to a great age. It does not often happen to a nation to raise at one time such a number of great men. They were men of peace, but preferred revolution to peaceful submission to bondage. They were quiet men, but did not shrink from agitating against oppression. They showed forbearance, but knew its limits. They believed in order, but not in the order of tyranny. With them, nothing was settled that was not right. With them, justice, liberty, and humanity were final, not slavery and oppression. You may well cherish the memory of such men. They were great in their day and generation. Their solid manhood stands out as more as we contrast it with these degenerate times. Fellow citizens, pardon me, allow me to ask, why am I called to speak here today? What have I or those I represent to do with your national independence? I say it with a sad sense of the disparity between us. I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. What then is to the American slave your 4th of July? I answer this: a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham, your boasted liberty an unholy license, your national greatness swelling vanity, your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless, your denunciation of tyrants brass-fronted impudence, your shouts of liberty and equality hollow mockery, your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgiving, all with your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast, fraud, deception, impiety, hypocrisy. A thin veil to cover up crimes which would disgrace any nation.
Here we go. Joys and sorrows. Every week we witness the joys and sorrows of our congregation. Today we take a moment to grieve. As we pour water into the bowl, we remember those people around the world without access to safe drinking water, from children in Flint, Michigan, to those who may be crossing our desert at this very moment. The large rocks in our bowl symbolize our collective mournings, including those aspiration this nation has to, The large rocks in our bowl symbolize our collective mourning, including those aspirations this nation has that have gone unrealized, and countless tragedies that contribute to make our country we call the United States of America. However, the large rocks in our bowl also symbolize our collective celebration, including the many ways this nation has been a leader in welcoming disfranchised and expanding human rights. For these things we celebrate. In a moment, you will add smaller stones representing your own joys and sorrows. If you want to share your joy or sorrow, you can go to menti.com and enter the code 7153-5684 and add your name if you wish. Brian, are you available to help people? Brian is available. Thank you. We invite those people, those of you here in person, to approach either side of the table or the back, which is off camera, and please place a stone in the bowl. This act, though small, can remind us that each choice we make can create ripples of healing and hope.
Today's mentee reads, "We celebrate a false identity of freedom of being oppressed, while continuing the oppression in the same country we claim has been free for 250 years. We're not free until the heart is free from hate." Honoring my brother on what would have been his 69th birthday. He left us at 20, but his light and love remain. We remember him today with gratitude, carrying his beautiful spirit in our hearts. Finally filling out applications. I'll be moving out of Star Village soon. Blessings and prayers. Welcome. Praying for you, friend. Celebrating yesterday with friends, but sad for a divided and broken country. Yes, and both. I found the spirit of July 4th yesterday in a block party at my neighborhood. We ate hot dogs and coleslaw in a potluck, shot cheap grocery store fireworks, and gathered as a community. If that's not what the 4th of July is, I don't know. Sometimes I puzzle over fully experiencing the joy and moments without falling into complacency. I feel like you've written our sermon today, friend. We're going to get there. A question that is asked currently is, what would George Washington say about today? He was reputedly humble. Our narcissistic president is so extremely the opposite. So sad. I want a bracelet, WWGW, right? Like those "What Would Jesus Say" bracelets. For all of those, all of the things said and unsaid today, I have a moment of reflection or a prayer, meditation, whatever works for you, with these words from our very own Bob Gordon. He reworked the well-known prayer of St. Francis of Assisi, who lived 1182 to 1226, so quite a while ago. Bob reworked this just a few months ago. It's titled, "May We Be Peacemakers." May we bring peace. Where there is hatred, may we bring love. Where there is injury, may we bring pardon. And when there is doubt, may we bring a belief in goodness. Where there's despair, may we bring hope. Where there's darkness, may we bring light. And where there's sadness, may we bring joy. In our lives, may we focus more on consoling others than our own consolation. And may we try harder to understand others than on making sure we are understood. May we love fully. When we forgive and find forgiveness, when we give of ourselves, we also receive. After we're gone, may whatever good we have done live on in others. Amen, and may it be so.
Our next song is 160 in the Gray Hymnal, and the words will be on the screen. And please keep your seats for this one as you are comfortable, unless you need to stand, in which case stand. Far too long by fear divided, we have settled by the sword quarrels which should be decided by the reconciling word. Now the nations are united, though as yet in name alone, and the distant goal is sighted, which the prophet souls have shown. May at last we cease from warring, barriers of hate removed, and earth's riches freely sharing, found the dynasty of love.
Equality in a Sea of Inequality by Peggy Clark, 2020. When this country was founded, the aspiration was high. The men who imagined the dream big, casting a vision of a world where all men were created equal, and the rights were endowed by our Creator, transcending culture and aspirations of the day, where life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness would be allowed and enjoyed without infringement. It was a radical and new vision born from the Enlightenment, optimism inspired by scientific discoveries. It was an exciting version as bold as Presbyterian Reformation and that swept all Europe. And they had the hubris to believe they could make it happen. They staked their claim in the Declaration of Independence and institutionalized it in the Constitution. They elected their first president, and when he stepped down, relinquishing power to return to the role of citizen, those founders believed they lived to see their vision realized. A new president ran for office, and the republic was up and running. It was done, a new world order. Those men weren't distracted by genocide they inspired or the enslavement of other people they required for their nation to be born. They declared equality while swimming in a sea of inequality. When they declared all men were created equal, they meant white Presbyterian men. They did not mean women. They were including black people who had been enslaved or those who were free. They didn't include Catholics, Jews, or people who didn't own land. They were so proud of their inclusive, so inspired by their own cutting-edge philosophy that they had no idea how narrow it was, how constructive, what's the word? Thank you. How small a vision. The men who wrote these words were called into being more perfect union. They are establishing justice, ensuring domestic tranquility, secure the blessing of liberty. They believe they and the men of their generations who will this new nation into being. They would establish the structure requiring for such a grand vision. They would test it, and then it would be done. They didn't realize it would require many more people, many different voices. They didn't know how many generations would have to be part of this creation, of the dream. How long it would take before the nation they imagined would be made manifested. The soul of America has yet to be born.
The next song we're going to sing is titled All Shall Be Well, a hymn inspired by the writings of Julian of Norwich, sometime in her confinement as an anchoress at St. Julian's Church in Norwich, England. We sing this song sometimes as an affirmation that, yes, we believe all will be well. Today, we might not be believing that. And we might feel lost and frustrated and supremely disappointed that the arc of justice isn't bending more quickly. Julian also lived through unprecedented times: the Black Death, the Peasants' Revolt, the suppression of early proto-Protestants, in addition to her own near-death experiences. And she still found a way to believe that, in fact, all will be well, even if we don't know when or how.
All shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well.
So after all of this history that we know so well, the grand aspirations and the barbarism, the promises made and broken, the movements towards justice, equity, liberation, and back towards tyranny, after all of this, what to us is the 4th of July, 250 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence? What is it today when just yesterday hundreds of masked white nationalists from the Patriot Front marched in Washington, D.C., waving Confederate flags and chanting anti-immigrant slogans? Reclaim America, life, liberty, victory. A group whose website appealed to people, quote, born to this nation of European race, end quote, to assert their, quote, right to cultural independence. What to us is the 4th of July? In an interview with Amy Goodman on Democracy Now!, author and Princeton University African American Studies professor Eddie Glade, Jr. gives us one answer. He argues that we must face our true history or we fall into, quote, idolatry of the state, a practice that whitewashes the brutal truth with one that canonizes despots and tyrants. Idolatry of the state allows 400 white nationalists from a fascist organization dedicated to, quote, creating a white ethno-state in the United States to march in our nation's capital without any response from law enforcement. We have seen what happens when peaceful protesters from the pro-democracy side gather in inflatable unicorn costumes with freedom chants. Those protesters are often met with, quote, unlawful use of force, including beatings, misuse of tear gas and pepper spray, and inappropriate firing of less lethal projectiles, such as sponge rounds and rubber bullets, according to Amnesty International. Glade explains that without knowing and believing our national history, white nationalism and fascism flourish. Donald Trump and his supporters, they want to be white without judgment, he says. History is a battleground because history, of course, holds them to account. But knowing this history, knowing all that we know, how can we celebrate the founding of this nation on soil stained red with the blood of indigenous people, African people, Chinese people, women, queer and trans people, poor people? The list of those harmed by our nation seems endless. How can we celebrate? How? And this is still our nation. It is not about the government. It's never been about the government. It's about the people. It's about us, the people, we, the people it always has been and it always should be. This is the nation that my grandparents saw as an opportunity to live safer than where they were living. It is the nation that my neighbor sought because there were no jobs in his country. It is a nation that still mostly applies the rule of law, even if we don't always agree. And I think we are savvy enough as Unitarian Universalists to hold these two truths. Our history and our present are both ugly and beautiful, depressing and infinitely hopeful. Eddie Glaude Jr. goes on to remind us of W.E.B. Du Bois, the first African-American man to earn a PhD in the U.S., well known for writing the book The Souls of Black Folk, published in 1903. That gives you some of his context for Du Bois. Quote, and in that text, Du Bois introduces the concept of double consciousness. This veil that separates the white world and the black world results in black folks seeing themselves through the eyes of those who despise us. That veil, that double consciousness, then orients black folks to the country in a particular sort of way. It gives us a particular understanding of its contradictions. He goes on to say, I'm saying that in America, the Glaude's newest book, that the double consciousness that Du Bois attributes to black folks is really a consequence of the double consciousness of this nation. That America experienced a kind of divided soul because it imagined itself both as a beacon of freedom and as a white republic. And you can't hold these two things together without contradiction, without depositing a kind of madness in the heart of the country, which sends us spiraling through these cycles every generation, where we kind of think of ourselves at once as a place of freedom and another instance as a white republic. End quote. Both and. What makes this country we're celebrating is not that we have come to this promised land, already built the beloved community, more perfect, not yet perfect. What makes this country we're celebrating is that these voices that have arisen time and time again to widen the frameworks of freedom. Individual voices that find each other and get louder and louder until the cry for freedom surges forth into a new day. We can celebrate that we are not a static country. We learn and we grow, and we have another year to learn better. And yes, sometimes we regress. Eddie Glaude says this is not actually a bug in our system. It is actually a feature built into the framework of our country by this double consciousness. When asked what surprised him most in researching our book, he said, quote, it's just the repetition, the haunting. He says there's a piece in the New American Review published by the Grand Wizard of the KKK in, get this, 1926. Scholars are responding in that era to the Grand Wizard of the KKK. Professors in politics, rabbis from Jewish synagogues, Du Bois himself, and what you see are the parallels. The KKK Grand Wizard is saying, we can't teach our kids what we want. These folks are diluting America. Sounds exactly like what we are hearing today. And Du Bois writes this response, The Shape of Fear, his book, and he says, quote, the power of the KKK resides in its lies. And he argues the lies are choking the life out of democracy. And here we are, in 2026, the 250th year, drowning in lies. But we are not drowning in hopelessness. When you look closely, there are good news stories to balance the terror out there. The alligator Alcatraz is closing down. DeSantis, though, he says that the reason they're closing down was because they were meant to be temporary until more permanent detention centers could be secured, and now they have the capacity. Both and. And then there's this, the U.S. Immigrants and Customs Enforcement is retreating from the plan to use warehouses to hold up to 10,000 people on a single site. Jettisoning that plan from Michigan and a Detroit suburb, the land will be sold. because they have other plans. Both and. When those in power make decisions not in alignment with the goals of this country, we push back. We organize. We are the ones who must make these changes happen. Closer to home, this is happening in surprising ways. Surprise, Arizona submitted a ballot referendum to dismantle the city and return the land back to the county, because the Board of Supervisors was not protecting their rights not to have a detention center in their city. We, the people, did that, are making it happening. Dissent is democratic. It is more American than apple pie, and it is required of us. We cannot afford to be freedom freeloaders in this era, just riding the successes of generations before us, because democracy is not easy and does not continue without people pushing the scales towards the sides of justice. And there is no time in our history when this nation wasn't fraught. And there's not a time in the future will it continue to be unfraught, especially without our vigilance. Frederick Douglass in 1852 felt hopeless. With the founding generation, justice, liberty, and humanity were final, not slavery and oppression. Those men were great in their day. Their solid manhood stands out more as we contrast it with these degenerate times, spoke Frederick Douglass. These degenerate times, all times are degenerate times, and we must not give in to that despair. So we UUs have a superpower in this regard. We can invoke love. I know it sounds trite, but listen. Trans-white Unitarian Universalist minister Sean Parker Dennison wrote, quote, "To invoke love is to allow the possibility that your words and actions might become so empowered you can no longer believe in apathy or the self-righteous idea that nothing can change. To invoke love is to give up self-depreciation, false humility, pride, to consider yourself worthy to be made whole, willing to encounter love that will never let us go of each other. To invoke love is to guard against assumptions, take care with our words, practice forgiveness not as ethereal ideal, but right here in the messy midst of our imperfect lives. To invoke love is to be ready to become love here, now, in everything we do. Are you ready? So let's not give up on us. Let's find the community that will cheer us on when we are full of fight and wrap us in a warm blanket and a cool beverage when we are tired. Let's make this the year we invoke love so that our people can continue on.
As Michael Schroeder reminds us, if you are proud of this church, become its advocate. If you are concerned for its future, share its message. If its values resonate deep within you, give it as a measure of your devotion. This church cannot strive without our faith, your confidence, your enthusiasm, or your resources. This offering will be generously given and most gratefully received.
And more like Leslie Scott.
Hi, I'm Tom Gregg. Okay, my first time here, bear with me. I am happy to be here, and I have a lot to share this morning, so let me get started. Right, I'll start with that. Hello, friends. I'm Leslie Scott. I'm here today speaking for the transitions team, honored to be at the pulpit of my all-time favorite UU church. This is my first time to use this microphone. I already said that. I want to first invite everyone to social hour after the service in Goddard Hall, which is out the double doors behind the piano and to your left. There will be coffee, iced tea, lemonade, snacks, and good company. Social hour food and refreshments are free for all, and donations are appreciated to cover our costs. If you are new and want to stay in touch with us, you can fill out a guest information card in the foyer and in the Welcome Center in Goddard Hall. They also are available on the internet, our website, and then you can expect a follow-up call from one of us, probably me. One of the things I like so much about this church is the participation potential for everyone who walks through the door. I just moved to Tucson last August, joined the church in December, and now enjoy not only Sunday services, but also spirited conversations and the activities of several groups. One of these is the transitions team. We work with board members to facilitate church operations. We partner with you, the congregants, to make programmable goals which will lead us to electing our permanent settled minister. And to that end, we will hold in-person and Zoom workshops for all of you to attend in September, October, and November. Our first workshop will be in person on September 12th. Stay tuned for details on how you can hear and be heard as we carve the vision for our resilient and beloved church. Transitions team is always open to feedback and questions. Talk to us in person, send us an email, or drop a note in our questions box, which is the same as the guest information card box. Come talk with me at the transitions table today during social hour in Goddard Hall. New announcement, no open mic night for the summer. The newsletter might say otherwise. We don't want you to be confused. That is suspended for the summer. I am excited with this announcement. On Saturday, July 18th, join Move On at UUCT right here to celebrate the late Representative John Lewis's legacy of expanding human rights with a food and supplies drive. This rally will inspire us to continue the fight for housing security, food security, and civil rights with a speech by Council Member Miranda Schubert and our Reverend Jamili Omar. Casa Maria Soup Kitchen and Unhoused Neighbors, two charities working to alleviate hunger in Tucson, will gratefully receive your donations of shelf-stable food items and other personal supplies. Drop-off starts at 9 a.m. Come learn protest music with Singing Resistance Tucson from 9 to 9:30, and speeches begin here in the sanctuary at 9:30. That is Saturday, July 18th. Everyone is welcome, and bring a friend. If you are interested in signing the membership book, join Reverend Jamili in the minister study immediately after worship today. Is it immediately after or shortly after? Lurk, just lurk. Raise a hand, we'll find you. Reverend Jamili or anyone on the membership team are available to talk about membership if you have questions. And the rest of you, we hope to see you in the social hall during social hour. Thank you.
I have a story for us. I'm going to stand up here because the pictures are going to be on the screen if you'd like to see them. This story is called The People Shall Continue. It is a tribute to the courage and steadfastness of this nation's original survivors. And if today we can learn how to coexist in the interdependent web of all of Earth's people, it will surely be from the resilience of this land's original inhabitants. So The People Shall Continue, 40th anniversary edition means it was published in 1977. Many years ago, all things came to be. Stars, rocks, planets, rivers, animals, and the people were born. Some say from the ocean, some say from a hollow log. Some say from the opening in the ground, some say from the mountains. The people came to live. Some fished, others were hunters. Some people farmed, others were artisans. The teachers and the elders of the people all taught this important knowledge that, quote, the earth is the source of all life, and she gives birth. The back one. The people of many nations, thank you, visited each other's lands. They brought gifts to each other. Next slide. Nevertheless, life was always hard. At times, corn did not grow and there was famine. At times, winters were very cold and there was hardship. At times, winds blew hot and rivers dried. At times, the people grew uneasy amongst themselves. The learned people talked with each other about what to do with their people, but it was always hard. But one day, something unusual began to happen. Maybe there was a small change in the wind. Maybe there was a drift in the stars. Maybe it was a dream that someone dreamed. Maybe it was the strange behavior of an animal. And the people thought and remembered a long time ago there were men who came upon the oceans to the western coasts and to the eastern coasts. But these visitors had not stayed for long. And soon they left upon the ocean. But now, the people began to hear fearful stories. Strange men had arrived on the shores of the south. Spanish, these men called themselves. They keep seeking treasures and slaves. Soon there were other dreadful stories. Next slide. More men, these with their wives and children, arrived on the eastern coasts. Soon the people saw the destruction of their nations. Next slide. When the people saw that these men did not respect them and the land, they said, "We must fight to protect ourselves and our land." The people in the west, Pope called warriors from the Pueblo and Apache nations. In the east, Tecumseh gathered the Shawnee and the nations of the Great Lakes. In the Midwest, Black Hawk fought to save the Sauk and the Fox Nation. And the Great Plains, Crazy Horse led the Sioux in the struggle to keep their land. They were warriors who resisted and fought to keep the American colonial power from taking their lands. Next slide. The leaders of the people agreed to treaties. The people said they would stop the fight. The Americans, the people, they could live on land, and both agreed that this was the people's land. But the promises were broken, and the people were moved, and the people died. Soon more Americans came. They were gold miners, railroad men, outlaws, missionaries, ranchers. They wanted the rest of the land, and they wanted the children trained in their ways. Government agents gathered the children. They took the children to boarding schools far from their homes and families, where they were not allowed to speak their language or learn their culture. Next slide. The people went to schools. They went to Christian churches. They served in the American army. Some even almost became Americans, but they were still the people. They farmed and raised livestock. They made and sold crafts. They were moved by the government into cities across America. Slide. And still, all this time, the people remembered. Parents told their children, "You are Shawnee, you are Lakota, you are Pima, you are Acoma." The people told each other, "This is the life of our people. These are the stories and these are the songs. This is our heritage." And the children listened. "This has been the struggle of our people. We have suffered, but we have endured," the parents said. "Listen," they said, and they sang the songs. "Listen," they said, and they told the stories. "Listen," they said, "this is the way our people live." All across America, the nations of the people were talking. They were listening to the words of the elders who were speaking. "This is the life that includes you. This is the land that is yours." And once again, the people realized what was happening to the land. They realized it was powerful forces of rich and the government that made the people suffer. So the people looked around them, and they saw Black people, Latino people, Asian people, many white people, and others who were kept poor by American wealth and power. They saw these people who were not rich and powerful shared a common life with them. The people realized they must share their history with them. "We shall tell you of our struggles," they said. "We are all the people of this land. We were created out of the forces of earth and sky, stars and water. We must make sure that the balance of the earth is kept. There is no other way. With that humanity and the strength which comes from our shared responsibility for this life, the people, we the people, shall continue.
Our final song is one that we need to stand for because it's We Will Rise Together. It's new. It's new to some of you, although we've sung the song to different words a few times, and it is mostly the same words, but you'll notice a highlighted word that changes each verse. As you are able, join me and catch the chorus at least by the end if you can. We will rise together.
We will rise together, you and I, rise together hand in hand. Come on, we will rise together, heads held high. We will reach the promised land. Come, my friends, I see a brighter day, where freedom reigns for everyone.
Got someone? Please join me in reading our chalice extinguishing titled Connected Points of Brightness, written by Irene Glass. As we extinguish our chalice, may we remember the flame of life in all things, the brighter center of our planet, the stars that lights our world, and the way those points of brightness connect within us and with all things. May we carry this light, may we share it freely, may we find it everywhere.